I'm humbled and I'm honored to serve in the rank of Chief Master Sergeant in the United States Air Force. Here at Grand Forks Air Force Base, I serve as a Chief Enlisted Manager. Just being sure that the health, morale, and welfare of those folks are in check is primarily what I do. I love it. Hoorah. About a year ago, I came to Altru as a patient in the hand clinic, and after I was injured during a deployment in Kyrgyzstan, and a funny thing happened. As I was coming to my appointment, weighted down with a lot of things on my mind, I came through the door and a gentleman reached out and said, hey, whatever it is, we can fix it. And it just kind of disrupted or interrupted my thought, and I said, what? And he came back, he put his arm on my shoulder, and he says, whatever it is, we can work it out. And I said, okay, thank you. He absolutely just took the weight that was on my shoulder off of it for a moment, and I just thought, wow. I looked back at him and thought, that's pretty nice. Went on to my appointment, and while I was there, the person who was seeing me for my injury, I tore a ligament in my elbow, said, whatever it is, we can fix it. And I stopped him and I said, is that some type of corporate line that you all are using? And he said, no. He said, I'm just letting you know what we can do for you. And I said, because the gentleman I met at the door said the exact same thing. And he said he didn't know the gentleman. So on my way back out, I stopped and talked to the gentleman, asked him his name, and he told me, asked him what he was doing there, and he told me he was a greeter. And I've been in a lot of hospitals and never heard of such a thing, and I thought, okay. And I just said, hey, sir, I want to thank you. And he said, for what? And I said, because you really took time to make this a personal visit for me. And I was just moved by him. I thought enough of him that when I came back, 48 hours later, I presented him with my coin. As a Chief Master Sergeant of the United States Air Force, we all have our own coins. It's called a challenge coin, and it's only presented for exemplary service above and beyond. And Mr. Mike, in my opinion, went above and beyond. Evidently, and I said these words to him, what you do is so inherent of what you do each and every day that you don't think that it's something significant, and it really was. People have made a big deal out of what I did for Mr. Mike, but actually it's the reverse. It's what Mr. Mike did for me as a patient coming through that door.
Well, they keep saying you only get one chance to make a first impression. And that's kind of what I go by up there is I try and greet them when they come in with a good attitude and ask them if there's anything I can do to help them. And a lot of them don't know what they're doing because they are here for the first time. And with Vanessa, it's been kind of, I keep telling her that I didn't do anything special. I didn't do anything. And she keeps saying, you did more than you know you did.
Mr. Mike thinks he didn't do anything, but that simple gesture of kindness spoke volumes. Really, he set the bar high for all the folks at Altru. I came back to duty in October. October was Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And the women in my office were like, hey, Chief, let's all go together to things. I've always been pro, do the mammogram, do it. And I said, we do a lot of things together. We go out to lunch, we hang out together, we party together, we have Tupperware parties together. Why not do a mammogram together? And so 5 women did it together. And out of the 5, it was me. I was diagnosed here with breast cancer. I had an opportunity or the option to go somewhere else and have surgery, but I opted simply because, and you might think it's crazy, the generosity, the kindness, the personal attention that Mr. Mike gave me and everybody else that I saw on the path, that I opted to stay here. Dr. Robin Haight was my physician. He took great care of me. Just like Mr. Mike, he assured me that whatever was going to happen, we were going to be in this journey together. He introduced me to the other person that would be responsible for my reconstruction, Dr. Mellon. And it's just been a wonderful visit. I can't think of a better healthcare system, and trust me, having served in the military for over 30 years, I've been in and out of hospitals. By far, Altru has been the best healthcare provider that I've had. I just couldn't imagine going anywhere else. I mean, I have to say, the night that Dr. Haight called to confirm that it was breast cancer that they found, he stayed on the phone with me. He had already met me. He knew that my family was in South Carolina. He asked me, did I want to call someone? I told him no. He told me I had 2 options, and he says option 1 is say, hey Vanessa, you can say you got cancer, you can just lay down and let it take it, take care of you, or you can say, you know what, I have cancer, but cancer doesn't have me. And he says, and I'm going to go through that journey with you every step of the way. We got some work to do. Which option do you want? And I thought, wow, I didn't even hesitate. He was just so thorough and so comprehensive. The next day when I met with him, he told me, if you want to, we can call your family. And I made that decision during a consultation with my family on the phone. He told me what needed to happen, what could happen. He told me what my other options were. He talked to my family member and said, what do you think? And says, here's what Vanessa's going to need. He gave me brochures. Here's a copy for you, Vanessa. Here's for your family. Send it to them. He wrote notes on it. I mean, it was just over the top. He reminded me that he was just basically going to be the instrument and that God was going to take us through it, and that spoke to my heart. So why would I want to go anywhere else? I'm still an active member. We did the surgery on 5 January, Dr. Hape, in conjunction with Dr. Milan. They started the reconstruction simultaneously with the removal. Had a double mastectomy, bilateral. And so thank God all the cancer is gone. I'm really, really pleased. In fact, I'm just coming down here. I got to see Dr. Hape, and he just smiled at me and just like, wow, all he said to me was, Vanessa, you're phenomenal. And I said, you did the work. I'm just pressing forward with what you're doing. Then eventually, once all the reconstruction is done, there's 2 more surgeries that's going to happen as a result of this situation, or event, as some people call it. And then I plan to go back full force doing what I was doing. The commitment that I have from Dr. Hape, Dr. Mellon, from everybody in my chain is that they expect me to be back to where I was before this diagnosis happened, and I'm doing the things that God wants me to do. So that's the plan. Dr. Hape just kept reassuring me. He says, if you keep your attitude good, everything's going to be okay. Every step of the way, folks from Altru, I mean, oh my gosh, from the women's clinic, they called me. I got to sit with them. They explained to me extensively. I talked to some other folks at Altru. They were just calling and let me know what the plan was going to be. Dr. Hape told me I was going to meet this person, that person, and they would set up appointments with you. And that's what I thought, set up appointments with me. But they sat down with me and talked to me, explained to me, and said, okay, here's where, once you have your surgery, there's nothing more that you're going to need me for. But if you need me, call me. And that actually happened. You know, the base said, hey, we got Chief Smallsbryant here. She's had the surgery now. Where does the support come from? They set all that up for me. So the word that comes to mind, because I can't think of any other word, is impressive. It was over the top. And I mean, people said that for me, the biggest part of the battle was going to be my mental and emotional state as I went into surgery. The folks here made it too easy, if that makes sense. I always talk about my family, the heartbeat of what I do. We're a pretty tight-knit family, and family time is important because we're always all over the place, all over the world. Because I opted to stay here in North Dakota, my family has been coming out here. They've been with me since the surgery on the 5th of January, taking 2 weeks overlap to help me to rehab and get better and get through this journey. So I'm very grateful. I will say to you, not a company line, the same thing I tell Mr. Mike whenever I see him and hug him is, I don't know why God put me here at Grand Forks, so far away from my family, but having the tear to my ligament, and for sure being diagnosed with breast cancer, is not another place I'd rather be.